Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libas. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want goals.
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week!
Ash, you muted.
Look at that.
That just
Welcome
about
to the
sums it
Wednesday
up.
week. This is where we start. This is how we're doing it. We've got the host who can't even be bothered to unmute himself because of all the profanities he's going to have on our podcast tonight. Come on Wednesday. See you next week.
Yeah, cheers for that. Thank you very much for that. I'm not feeling the most bestest, so that's not an excuse. I should be more professional. So apologies for that. I'll start again. We're not live, are we? Are we live? I'll start again. Sorry, apologies.
We're either going to have to do some serious editing or put this as an outtake at the end and pretend that anybody that's watching will go again
Saw
now.
nothing.
You see, I looked at my microphone and we were all mute when the intro comes on. So I just thought it'd unmute, but it didn't. So anyway, evening and welcome to the Wednesday week. Now, usually, first couple of weeks of the off-season, we all know where we stand with players. Retain lists have been released and all the players are jetting off to Dubai. But no, this is Sheffield Wednesday. We don't do things there. And what we've witnessed over the last 6 months especially is the behaviour of the owner. Things a little bit different at our club and not in a good way. From the manager, from not talking to the manager in transfer window January to the late payment of staff and players twice and receiving a couple of offers that he's turned down. This is pre-season. This is Sheffield Wednesday. So, evening all. And I think, should we start it? I think usually, come on, you should be. Usually we do this middle of the show, but I think tonight especially.
Hot topic!
Sheffield Wednesday is the hot topic. The whole show is just one, and started off by me. I think I am the Sheffield Wednesday podcast host because I've just been a shit show there, haven't I? So apologies. Tonight I'm joined by Beth, Charlie, and Stevie. Thank you very much for joining me. How are we all right? Yourselves, not your football club.
Oh, yeah. Fine. Yeah. Totally fine.
Good. Right, let's get straight into it then. Obviously, breaking news over the last 4 or 5 days is our wonderful owner and chairman deciding not to pay his staff and his players. Stevie, it broke on Friday, I believe. Rob Staten, apologies, Rob, if I always pronounce it wrong. But yes, he broke the news that it looks like, it did, that the players hadn't been paid for May. Stevie, anything to add on that?
Yeah, it's been a difficult sort of 72 hours, hasn't it? One of those roller coasters that you get when you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan. I'll go back to sort of March, and I can remember the first period of us being in that situation where we were anxious and we were stressing and we were thinking about whether or not we were going to get paid. And it's gone back that sort of 2-month period. And at the time, you kind of went, right, if he can get this sorted, we'll be all right. And then you go, oh, so we've paid in March, we're sorted, and it's got to be done. We've got to make sure we don't do it again until the end of June, because that's your 12-month period. So you go April, May, June. You'd have to be an absolute numpty to not be able to run a business properly and get into a situation where you are finding yourself in that sort of scenario again in such a short period of time. I say that with the greatest respect. My bigger worry is, why have we got to this point and we've not seen it coming and we've not done anything sooner? Because this won't have come as a shock in terms of a cash flow sort of situation. And I know we're getting into it deep and we're getting into it early. However, how can you find yourself in May, sort of 2 months after being in the situation the first time round, in the same situation and allowing it to get to this without being more proactive in terms of what you've done or what you need to do, how you've gone about your business, contacting people. We'll get into the sort of the nuts and bolts of it. Apparently, it's been a weekend of scrambling around to call in some money from, for those of you watching, I've got the air quotes in there, but for those of you listening, using my fingers, business associates and calling in some favours, etc. We've got to this point now, and I'm starting to get less frustrated by things and more angry, because I know that I'm trying to do my bit on the ground in terms of paying money to go and watch, extortionate money to go and watch a football club play football in mid-table championship last season and whatever next season looks like. And I'm not the only one. Where are we going from here? And why am I paying so much money to watch a relegation battle?
Yeah, I mean, Beth, you obviously this is the second time in 3 months that Chansiri has not been able to pay the staff and players. I don't know how much his bill is, 2 million, 3 million a month, or whatever it is. So he had the issue a couple of months ago. He's paid. You know that this is coming every month. Why is it taking him to scramble around now for money? Well, what you thought? He knows what's coming, don't you? So he'd have it all in place.
You know what is coming, but I guess it's menacing round the corner. I think it kind of lingered in the back of my head because I was like, oh, we're struggling to do the bare minimum of business when we're having match days and when we're having kind of our regular kind of processing, our regular churn. So I think it was kind of in the back of my head for a few months now. Like, okay, as Stevie said, we can maybe truck through so many of these months until now, and this is literally the first one. So there's no reserves there. There's going to be another payday where we don't have any match days, and we don't know. I think I've seen some stuff today about, I know some of our Sky money will be due, but I'm sure we're not getting a lump sum of kind of £8-9 million. So I think, yes, it's awful, but I don't know when it's going to get better, because surely this time next month we find ourselves in the same situation after another month of no one coming to Hillsborough.
Well, that's it. These months, don't get wrong, under my impression, these months are the ones that you need the money from what you've made in the season to carry you through. Because like you said, Beth, you've got no income from match day. So he's looking at his spreadsheet and going, oh dear, I've got to find another 2 million. Charlie, what do you think he can do, or what do you think should he do for next month? Because he's just paid, and we believe that he paid £700, I think, something like that was reported, part payment to staff, which is absolutely ridiculous. And sorry, I am coming to you, Charlie, but I'm just going to get on a little rant. Sorry, but we all know footballers earn good money. We do, compared to the likes of us, apart from Steve, of course. But but they still live to their means. They still need their wages month to month, week to week. And to say that they're not getting paid, but then it's the people that are not on footballers' wages that is well. So it's everyone at the club, but it's the staff, off-field staff, you would call them, that I feel sorry for. What happens, Charlie? What can he do, or what do you think he should be doing?
Selling the club, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I think, apologies if I get really ranty, because I know I'm prone to a rant about things that don't matter, like pies and Michael Smith. It doesn't really matter.
Cream eggs.
Cream eggs. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't broadly matter whether it's your very rich footballers you're not paying, or any of your staff broadly, because you're all under contract and you're all employees. That you would have people under your employ, working class people. Most of them a lot of them will work minimum wage, shit wage, for a lot of it a very thankless shit job. A lot of them will be young, and a lot of them will rent, they'll have bills due like everybody else. The idea that you cannot pay those people, no apology, no clear communication, a measly £700 of a percentage of what you own as some kind of consolidation prize is disgusting, and it's absolutely disgusting. And to be honest, I actually don't care about embargoes and punishments and stuff at that point. It's like, yeah, fine, sure, The really important thing is you've got people who have done their job and they've not got their wage for it. There is no excuse. The only thing you can do is pay them and then get gone, because to do it once is unacceptable, really. To do it once is in any kind of business owner. Like, if you don't suddenly, I know how much I get paid and I know what my outgoings are. Unless I suddenly crash my car and I've got a surprise amount of money coming out, you know what your ingoings are like. That is the bare minimum as a business owner, to know what's coming in and what's going out. To have that happen once is embarrassing. To not know your incomings and your outgoings over 10 years of owning a particular business is embarrassing. Twice in 3 months, to not know, to not have those funds, to not have those emergency funds that cover those things. What else could you possibly be prioritizing? What else can you possibly spend that money on? And all this, well, he's waiting for outstanding debts. No, he's not. That's ridiculous. That's a crazy thing to say. Who's borrowing money off that idiot? I wouldn't trust him to lend me £10. It'd probably be Monopoly money. I'd be holding it up to the light. There is no way. There's no possible way that he's waiting for people. That can't be true. What other businesses, what other incomings, it doesn't make sense and it's unacceptable. Where's the £700? Oh, well, I ain't got enough money to pay all, but I can somehow afford 700 for each of you to have. That money doesn't make sense. Either he does have the money, he can pay it and he's not paying it for some reason, or he doesn't have the money, and I don't know what's worse, like that he genuinely is so cash poor at any given time in a month that it's coming up and I can't pay. Oh, it's nearly Friday. I can't pay. Like, that's crazy. Like, you really don't have that money in the bank? That's insane. I don't know about selling. He should be stood outside Hillsborough in the stocks having rotten fruit thrown at him. Like, absolutely peasants' revolt time. Like, we should be flipping storming in and selling the elephants down at the frigging Cash for Gold or something, because this is absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm drinking and it's a Monday. I'm fuming.
I'm just gonna. I knew I made a mess of the start, but I'm just gonna. I think I might just sit here and listen to Charlie all evening. That's all right, isn't it?
Can I ask a question then?
Yeah,
and I'm jumping in, and it makes it a little bit of a round table on this sort of scenario and situation here. Everybody in the comments that we've put up, and I've dropped a few in for those that are watching on YouTube that are sort of wholeheartedly endorsing Charlie. I'll re-stick Slappy's up. Friend of the show, Slappy Gilmore. Charlie. Mad Ward's been on. Go Chaz. We've had
sounds
one
like
or
the
two
T1
up there. Yeah. Well said, Charlie. Matt Schaefer as well. Bang on, Charlie. Izzy Nick. Totally agree, Charlie. There's a lot of people agreeing with what Charlie said. We're talking about what he should be doing in terms of the next steps. However, there has to be a reason, and I'll throw it out to you three before we get anything in the comments as well. There has to be a reason that he's not, and I'd wonder why. For me personally, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I'm getting dogs abuse from however many thousands of people that want me to sell the club, and I'm saying on whatever level, I'd be willing to sell the club. Okay. However, I know that I need to recoup a certain figure of money, and you can look at it from the point of view of this club is worth what it's worth. You've got the stadium being what it is in terms of value, and the circumstances around the stadium and the club sitting separately. We've got to a point now where Chansiri, and I don't want to be sensationalist or ITK, let's pull out a figure and call it £100 million. That's no secret. People will go north of that. People have gone with significantly more than that in terms of what they're saying the valuation of the club is. So I'm not breaking any sort of confidences there in terms of anything that's being done. That's not coming from me. That's coming from a range of sources that are saying the chairman of this football club values it at 100 million. Reality speaks, and I think there's been an article that's been shared by Joe Cran tonight. Forgive me, I'm not read it in detail, but it's talking about 40 to 50. Let's call it 40 million. In fact, let's go the other way and call it 50 million. There is £50 million difference between what Dapon Chansiri is asking for the club and what we're saying is essentially valued at. Now, there's been a lot of people that have said a lot of things around that, but there's got to be a reason why he's holding out for 100 million. And I think things are going to start to get a little bit darker as we get into the sort of the nitty gritty over the next 48 to 72 hours. And I don't necessarily think it's entirely linked with the EFL and embargoes being the entire problem here. So I'd wonder what you guys think in terms of that valuation of the club.
I think it's if you don't mind me butting in, I don't know, again, if this is a rumour or he said so many words but so little of substance over so many years that I can't remember where this idea has come from, but it's potentially from himself that he wants to recoup the money that he's put into the club, which I've seen 160 million kind of touted, which is obviously, if he wants 100 million, there is still a discrepancy there. But I am under the impression from potentially himself, but also potentially social media, so I will caveat with that he wants as much as he can because he seems to have this idea that he can not make such a loss on it and selling. I can't remember off the top of my head what he bought the club for, but anything that figure doesn't matter. That figure is a standalone figure that exists in complete isolation to what he bought it for, plus what he spent in his head, is my perception of it. That I can't source.
I think the value that he paid was around about, it was reported tonight, and we'll call it, Kieran Maguire has been in and around all things Sheffield Wednesday. I think he's put out there tonight that we're looking at 15 million. Yeah. 15 million for Sheffield Wednesday 10 years ago. The club has not accrued a worth of more than sort of 6-7 times that, has it? 6 times 15. We're still inside that valuation that he's got. We are not 6 times the club as a result of Dave Chansiri's ownership over the last 10 years. So what has happened? And we've talked about the debt. We've talked about him chasing his tail. My worry is that he's robbed Peter to pay Paul a little bit too much, and he doesn't just owe certain one sort of source money. He's not just operating in that manner. There are other things that are going to come to pass, and that's a concern for myself.
We've had a comment from WAWAW. Do you think Chansiri may have embezzled club finances into failed foreign businesses? Otherwise, why would he not sell at this stage? Surely he's trying to cover up his corruption. Could be why he's so secretive over where the money comes from and doesn't have to pay wages days after biggest gate of the season.
I'm sorry.
Go on, Bex. No, go on. No.
So I doubt very much that Thai Company's House exists. If Thai Company's House existed, we would know a little bit more about how much money he's got and how much money he doesn't have, or what these business interests are, which we have no idea what they are. He's not involved with Thai Union Group explicitly, but neither is he explicitly involved in his own ventures. But at the same time, I don't know how much credence those kind of claims of embezzlement, or I know there was some stuff about insider trading around when he bought us. But if it's that bad, and we also know this guy likes to talk, why are you not giving the clarity there? I think if you've got nothing to hide, you'd clarify that, you'd prove it. And again, there's this gap in what we know and what he said that has led to all of this. Of us trying to fill in the gaps in so many areas. I think that's another reason that is playing into his own hands, that there is so much scrapping in between factions of Wednesday fans and individual Wednesday fans that there is just so much unknown here. And I don't know how it's definitely not good practice, but I don't even know how it's allowed.
That's the big thing, isn't it? That's the thing that frustrates me so much. And I think another whinge I had on Twitter was the kind of like, surely someone else is looking at this. Like, hello, like it can't just be like we as fans go, we're not too happy about this. Boo, we want him out. Like, it's insane. Is this not a crime? Like, is someone not doing something about this? Like, is this not like? And I think what's so frustrating is the only time you ever seem to see anyone do anything is when they're putting like punishments on, like, oh, points deduction, this, that, and you go, who's that affecting? Like, that doesn't change anything. And it's so crazy to me that you can like not pay employees that work for you, and someone doesn't go, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that a person with funds would do. Like, surely that is like a perfect example of like grounds for an investigation. Like, it genuinely blows my mind. Why should we be having to protest? Like, why should it be like we have to bring attention to the national media? Go and have a look at his books. Like, that's great. Someone else needs to be looking at that. It's nuts.
There's a guy on Twitter, forgive me, Matt Thomas, N Thomas Writes. He's been tweeting quite a lot. I don't know his background. I think it's a journalist type background, but he has been doing that sort of investigative work. He's been in contact with people in America, in Thailand, trying to get that sort of information from not just Chansiri and his businesses, but other potential or bidders or people, prospective bidders as well, trying to get the background in are they fit and proper, or where does their money come from? So go and check his stuff out on Twitter. He's trying. He's the only one that I've really seen do any of that sort of investigative work in Thailand, trying to get, because no one knows, do they? We're all told that Chansiri is in some construction. If it was, you'd think we'd have a great stadium, wouldn't you? And a more up-to-date stadium. It's just an absolute.
Ash, we've got breaking news.
Breaking news, Claxon, bang, bang, bang. Alex Miller, 10 seconds ago. Non-football staff waiting on the full payment of their May wages have received apologetic correspondence from Sheffield Wednesday. Club have said they anticipated being able to pay in full today, but issues continue. No new date discussed. Is the headline, and I'll read the article now.
And then get back to us.
Yeah, then get back to it. Do it cool. Not cool. That's
do you think? Just remind me. Do banks accept apologies from your employer in lieu of cash? I'm just really curious. Like, food shops, can you, like Sainsbury's, are they accepting emails from your boss? It's crazy.
I'm going on holiday next week. I'd rather not pay my rent so I can have some more spending maybe. Like, I'll just have a word with the landlord. It'll be fine.
I'll just send him a post-it note. They'll let me have that. That's fine.
What do you mean? When I'm self-employed, so like when I put invoices out and they don't get paid, what I do, I go to Tesco and I get my invoice and say, "Look, I am due my money.
Yeah.
Can I take my
solid
confirmation as of 8 p.m. There's been no payments."
What a piece of shit. Sorry.
Well,
I think.
Oh, go on, Stephen.
Sorry. Staff have been assured that as soon as the funds are received, the outstanding salary payments will be fulfilled. So
that's fine.
Where's that money coming from?
Now it's happening.
Jeez.
I think the thing on that is, and we'll broach this one. It wasn't what I was actually going to say, but just on that, there's been some rumours flying about today that Chansiri has been in touch with some business associates, trying to call in some favours in the local area. Again, it's one of those things that you become ITK, and this is absolutely not the forum for us to sit here now and try and say we're going to try and break something exclusive. But again, it's no secret. Daypon Chansiri has been reported to have been in touch with certain people to try and get some money into the football club so that he can pay these. If you want to believe the rumours that have been put out there, you're talking anywhere north of 1.52 million pounds that he's trying to get in today.
Jesus Christ, I'm going to tenor off my mates. Never mind 1.5 million.
If he's tried to do that, and again, I'm speculating, and I wouldn't want to say that this is hard and fast and it's coming from us as breaking news and take it to the bank. We won't be tweeting it. We won't be saying that we're putting anything to it. I'm talking about rumours that have been put out. That may be true. It may not. But the thing is, if he is going out to try and get this money over the line, I used an analogy earlier on. If I've got rent or a mortgage that needs to be paid, I might lose my house if I keep defaulting on mortgage payments, or I'd be in breach of contract in terms of the rent, and the landlord would kick me out. The problem that I've got is if I'm in that situation, the money that then goes back to the mortgage company is the value of the house. Mm-hmm. So I've lost my house and I'm done. But the problem then becomes, what if I've then gone, right, well, I need to borrow X amount of pounds over this side to help try and alleviate the debt that I've accrued over there. And whilst I'm worrying about that debt to that person that I then owe, I might borrow some money over here to pay that person, who then helps me pay the mortgage. And it becomes a chain and a series of situations and events where I'm borrowing money all over the place to try and keep my head above water. I lose my house, but I don't lose the debt because I still owe A, B, C, D. The worry is, and I have no substantial sort of information to say that this is the case, if the chairman owes A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, then we're in a hell of a problem, because where does administration sit in this whole scenario? Because the club going into administration will help in some ways, but does it help in terms of the full debt? And I don't think it will. Hence me wondering whether or not that's the reason why we're
that's the money he wants. That's why the valuation is so big. It's not the money he's put in, it's the money he owes from all the money he's had to get to plug up all the holes. Go on,
We should have played rumour mill for that.
Go on, Beth, we're going to say
it's
something.
It's got to see the loan shark down the pub. I was just going to say that the last bit of the letter that's been published reads, "Your welfare is important to us, and should you have any further concerns, please reach out to the HR department." I bet the Gillies and the Boysies in the HR department also haven't been paid.
Yeah. What does their letter say? Please go and speak to somebody who works in the mega store, and everybody's letter as I'm going and speaking to someone else.
Right,
P.S.
yourself.
P.S. Can you stay over an hour because you might have some complaints coming in?
Yeah, a lot of shit.
Overtime. Yeah. It's one of those. Unfortunately, it's going to rumble on, isn't it? And this is going to be another thing next month and the month after, and we could be.
And it'll be our fault. Because they'll say, well, not the loyal fans. So many of them didn't do their season tickets as expected, and loads of people didn't re-up their season tickets, and now I don't have the money to pay my employees. And the statement will be all like, why don't you all, you non-business owners, why don't you all chuck 200 quid in and we'll do a whip round for my staff.
I think with that, I'd come back to that, and I know what you're saying because that's the history, Charlie. We've been here, and his statements come, and they say that this is the issue. I think his bail has slipped that much over the last 3 days, where we've been and where we are. We've a lot of time, and they're friends of the show in terms of the star lads, Joe and Alex. If they are at a point, and I'll say this all the time, they've taken a lot of flack from Sheffield Wednesday fans over the last couple of days because they haven't put their name to anything without substance. When it gets to a point where these two lads and the salt of the earth blokes, when these two lads go, right, it's now time to say Dapon Chansiri's reached out, then you know that Dapon Chansiri's reaching out. If they're saying things haven't been paid and these people have been paid this much, then I put absolute credence in everything that they say, because they will go out of their way publicly and privately to say, if there's nothing to report, we're not going to report it. So they'll have done the due diligence. They'll have got the sources that they need to run with this story. That highlights the issue and the situation that we're in at the moment. So for me, we can call it and we can say that there's a problem. To go back to that point where if he was to make a statement, I don't think he's got a leg to stand on in terms of coming out and blaming us, because we have done our bit. We continue to do our bit. I was lucky. I found myself in a situation where I could get phase 1 season tickets. I say lucky because it cost me a little less towards that £1,000 mark for me and my daughter. My mate, bless his heart, had to go through some hoops and only got into the latest phase. So he was one of those 20 odd that got the season ticket on the last phase because he wasn't in a situation, for whatever reason, that he could do it earlier on. Now he is. He's paid a hell of a lot of money in and around the time where we're finding ourselves in that situation where things are a little bit more dire than we'd expect them to be at this point. I don't want to be paying north of £500, and it's a lot more than that. Why would I want to spend £700 to go and watch a relegation battle? For us to finish, 24, for us to be in a situation where we're going, right, we can't sign any players. We can't look in that scenario where the transfer window's open. Can we go to this club and loan this player? Can we look at the free agent market? Who on earth, even if you're unattached at the moment, you've been released by a Premier League club or a top-end championship club, you're one of those journeymen that has gone to 32, 33 years old and gone, right, I've been released, but I want another year at championship level before I drop down. Who the bloody hell is going to go, do you know what? Sheffield Wednesday aren't paid their players 2 out of 3 months. I know. They're a big club. They've got a bit of history. They had a decent manager last year. Barry Bannon plays in midfield. I'm going to go and play there. Nobody's going to do it.
No one's going to want it. No one's going to want to come to us.
So what does our team look like next year?
Just on the statement that Beth just highlighted for us, Johnny Owl 1985. How can he have anticipated the issue would have been resolved when he's been begging for the money?
Because he's got his fingers crossed.
He really, really regrets the situation. Oh, it's so sad. I just didn't have any money. Oh,
he's
sad.
manifesting it. He's sad.
Yeah.
He's manifesting. He's viewing the vision of the time in which he can pay the bill.
Yeah.
And
He's
that
a
is
girl
enough.
boss. He's girl
Exactly.
bossing. He's girl boss too close to the sun, and it's coming back to bite him.
Forgive my
Can I?
middle-aged
Sorry, Ash.
bloke. What's a girl boss? What's the analogy? Sorry, Charlie.
He's manifesting his career. Like he's working for it, and he's and he doesn't always get it right, but like he's a strong, independent football
Sex
owner,
in the City.
and he's Sex in the City.
You can't like slate his worth ethic. Like you work so hard. Like
it's the grind. It's the grind.
He's got the grind set.
He's
locked in.
I really didn't think we'd get those. Scott, Stevie, you've got your hand up like a good student.
Yeah, I just wanted to retort to Matt Chaper's response to what I just said. He blames us. He will blame us, though, Stevie. Exactly what Charlie said. Those that haven't renewed because they can't afford it or simply because they don't want to go until he's gone, it won't be his fault, obviously. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm not saying that Dapon Chansiri won't blame us. I just don't think that argument that it's our fault and our issue.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I just think he's that sort of. He's become. There's a scene in The Shawshank Redemption where the Andy Dufresne turns to the prison officer and the governor, and he turns around and he goes, "How can you be so obtuse?" And every time I hear Chansiri say, give a statement or make a comment or point the finger in our direction, I just think it's obtuse. I think it's blinkered. I think it just smacks of somebody who's increasingly desperate. And we've come out, and we're not militant on this podcast, and we're not sitting here as Chansiri sympathisers or otherwise. We continue to be as objective as we can, but we're getting to a point now where it's that frustrating, to be associated with this football club as a supporter. It just makes it really, really difficult to sort of empathise with the man, because, like we keep saying, the underlying theme here is that people aren't getting paid. The underlying theme here is that we're in a situation where even if he wanted to sell, we can't sell for the price that we should be selling for. So we're out on a whim and a wing and a prayer now, hoping that somebody will come in and go, this club is worth 40 million. I'd be willing to pay 3 times as much because we're on a podcast and we do this, and we've got a massive fan base, and we've got all these people that are going to come, and we can regenerate what will be a phenomenal football club, and we will be a phenomenal football club again. I'd just like it to be within my lifetime. Do you know what I mean?
Just before the advert breaks, I want to ask you one question on your opinion, guys. Is Chansiri broke?
Yeah.
He's got to be. If he's not broke, then it's a weird game to play because it benefits nobody. Like even if it was some kind of Mr. Burns-esque like weird mind game, it's like, for what? Like, no business owner would want to appear like they don't have cash flow. So yeah. He must be broke, or at the very least he's living like, business wise it's hand to mouth. Like something is rotten. Like it has to be.
Stevie?
Yeah, I used to think that he had money, and I used to think that there would be loopholes that he can't get through. And I've no information to believe that one way or the other, but looking at it from an outside looking in, and I'm not that deep into it, I can't see how he does. I genuinely can't see how he's got any money, because I think if he did, he'd find a way to pay players. Nobody is, and we can say, yeah, but Chansiri would. Nobody is that stone cold hearted that they wouldn't see Doris the tea lady, or John on the turnstile, or Fred who's in kiosk 22 selling his chicken, damn fudge. These people need paying, and I genuinely believe that if he could, he would.
Yeah. Right. As the host usually says, some people are going to try and sell you something. Just hope it's not Klarna or Wonga. So.
Hold tight, kids. It's advert time. Hold tight, kids. It's advert time.
Yes, welcome back. And if it was, is it MGM Bet or whatever usually used to be on Chris Rock? Yeah, do bet responsibly, please, not like our owner. All right. Shall we get into some, I would like to say good news, but potential could be sort of good news. We've had a couple of bids, I believe, come in over the last couple of weeks. So Adam Shaw.
Potential good news.
Well, I'd caveat that, yeah. So, well, an unnamed consortium, Florida-based consortium, has had a bid in to Chansiri for the club of, I believe the first bid a few weeks ago was 47 million quid. And there's been a second bid that's been turned down that could be anywhere between 70 and 80, I suppose, something like that. Well-known Sheffield Wednesday fan, Adam Shaw. What's your first impressions of him, Charlie? I don't know the guy, obviously. I don't know if any you three do. We don't, but you know, he's.
Well, I don't like to say. I don't know if I can say. I think I've heard. I don't doubt that he has the money. I will just say that because again, weird thing to lie about, weird thing to big up. I appreciate that, like, it's not as simple as being like, here is my bank account and it's got X in it. I know it's not, business isn't like that, but at the same time, I think it's a consortium, so it's not like it's sort of just him. However, I have just heard a couple of little things about him that maybe the way he conducts himself is maybe less than desirable at times. Am I currently at the point where I just think, for God's sake, get Chansiri out and get someone else in?
I was going to say, is it anyone but Chansiri?
A little bit. Like, I absolutely, like, what would worry me more is like another individual who is like, if this was just Adam Shaw, Texas billionaire, I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure about that. The idea of the consortium does make me feel less concerned because it's multiple different people, all with different, you know, because, like, for example, if Chansiri was part of a consortium, it wouldn't be about this one guy at the top. This is the problem we've got now, is it's him and his funds or lack of funds, and it's the sort of the trickle down kind of system. Whereas the idea of having a consortium, like a lot of the really successful clubs are run like that. I don't know the guy. I'm doing a little awkward dance because I don't want to say anything potentially like, I don't know. But yeah, it's maybe. I don't think Chansiri will sell. I think that's the ultimate problem. So I don't think it matters in a way. I don't know. But yeah.
Beth, are you on the same mindset of Charlie? Obviously, we've been under the stewardship of one dictator, if you, for one better word, for the last 10 years. Anybody that does come in, and we're not saying it's the Adam Shaw consortium, but would you be happier of a consortium rather than a person being the sole in charge of the club?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was going to be my main thought on it, is someone who's kind of interested in football governance and democratic structures in football. I think a lot of the issues that we've had can be put down to our kind of executive bad practice and stuff like that. Like, it would be really reassuring to me that we're not going to go from one individual psychopath to another individual psychopath. And you'd hope, if there are people rich enough to kind of have a consortium and buy a football club and maybe have other sporting business ventures, as is rumoured, you'd hope that they're not idiots and maybe might have a kind of idea about how to do this. That said, I think, like Charlie, I kind of have my spidey senses kind of tingling about Adam Shaw. Like, there's something that I don't know if I can put my finger on that just doesn't feel quite right about it. Maybe it is the kind of public, he has been very public about all of this, and the line is getting quite tired on social media that these things won't happen in public. Like, guys on X and Instagram aren't going to be partial to these discussions, but the fact that we kind of have been at times is a bit.
Yeah.
Is that a problem, do you think? Do you think that's where a lot of the negativity? Because for me, I don't know the guy, like I said, but all I've seen is that he did an interview with Radio Sheffield earlier on in the season, and it's just stuff online. I've not actually seen a great deal especially his business or his perceived businesses. We had the thing with Shaw Mines sponsoring the club that Chansiri came out and said he hasn't paid his full amount up. There's been, I think he sponsored the Sheffield Sharks or something like that, I think. But yeah, I think a lot of the negativity is through rumours and just ITK, Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of social trial by social media, as you can call it.
Yeah, and I think there's perhaps I've kind of tried to do a bit of cognitive behavioural therapy on myself about this, because yes, he is kind of rattling my spidey senses, but also he is evidently trying to go above board, and he is trying to do negotiations, and he is trying to engage with Chansiri, whether that's to fund us partially or to buy us outright in various different guises. And if you're shouting against a brick wall for so long, at what point do you go, wait, this guy doesn't really do business the normal way? Like, is public pressure and me trying to win over the public if I go on the radio, if you see me about on Ecky Road, like, is this an underhand tactic for an underhand situation, if that makes sense?
Stevie, what's your take on Adam Shaw? Are you in the same sort of thing? Is it your perception of him, like a lot of people are? Because there is quite a lot of negativity about him when it's mentioned about, and where's that come from? But then, where is all the positive for it? Why should we back him, or why should he be involved? It's very much still out there, isn't it? For me, I don't know. How do you feel, Stevie?
I think the perception comes from expectation of how you would want somebody to come in and take the club on. If I as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, what do I want from a prospective new owner? Do I want them on Ecky Road in a tracksuit top, having been in the stands at various places last season, sort of just mingling and making noises and allegedly saying things to people in the stands and in social situations at this stage of a prospective takeover? Absolutely not, because loose lips sink ships, and you're in that sort of situation and scenario where it doesn't lend itself to believing that there's a foundation for what he is willing or capable of offering. So from that perspective, I want my owner or new owner, prospective buyer, whatever that looks like, to be somebody who does business in the shadows. And I don't mean anything underhand. I don't want to know what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday in terms of an ownership takeover model until there's something to talk about. And that's the problem. And that's where the negativity comes in the current scenario, the current situation, is everybody's hearing things, and ITK is becoming that. It's a hashtag within itself, isn't it? And you can talk about the rumour mill. It's an extension of that. I don't want a club that's going to be traded on ITKs and people that are in the know. I want a club that when the time is right, somebody goes, right, I've done my due diligence, I've got my money in order, whether it's a one buyer or consortium. I prefer a consortium, because the more people of a similar business mind, which a consortium would be, that can pull in potential second parties, third parties, etc., I think can only be good for the club. We've seen that singular model at the moment, and with due respect, having said everything respectfully, I don't think it's the right way to go in 2025. That's what hinders and hampers us in terms of where we are with the current owner, the takeover, and the people that are associated with it. We're talking about a consortium. Nobody is actually, yes, they're interested, but nobody's actually going, well, who's the second person, third person, fourth person, and then deep diving on social media. We're just going, oh, it's linked to this guy here. And for the reasons that I've just said, we kind of have that almost negative perception on one side. The other side of the point that you've just asked is, why would we want it? Is because there's an increasing groundswell for people that go, we just need the current chairman out, and we need somebody who can come in and invest, in anything's better. You've got to find that sort of fine line between the frying pan and the fire, haven't you? Do we know enough about the current bidder, if we believe that that's what it is, to say that things will be better? And at the moment, my personal feeling is that I don't, because I don't. So I can't sit here and go, sure, it'd be better or it'd be worse. It'd just be different. And until somebody can tell me that he's got this much money, we can afford it. Because if we got to a situation where he invested to the point where Chansiri agreed to sell, that's fine. But any prospective buyer doesn't need enough money for Chansiri to sell to make us happy. What they need is money for Chansiri to sell, but then they also need, another 10, 15 million pound in terms of a transfer budget, if not higher. They also need to get the manager sorted. They also need to get the backroom staff sorted, and that's before we get on to stadium improvements, the infrastructure and everything else. So whatever number you want to talk about, whether that be 60 million, 100 million, 120 million, if that covers the sale of the club and getting the ground so we can unify everything together as one, what then do you need to have in the background to sort of say, right, now let's develop the ground. Now let's get the sponsorship deal sorted. Now let's get the transfer sorted. Now let's get a top drawer manager, whether Röhl's in or not. 46 minutes, and we've just mentioned Danny Röhl, by the way.
Least of our problems at the moment, isn't it? Least of our frigging problems.
Get all of that sorted, and then that's where we are. If somebody can tell me somewhere that that's what Adam Shaw's got and that's what he's bringing to the table, absolutely fine. I'll take it. We've had
a couple. Sorry, Charles. We've had a couple of comments. Mad Ward says it's going to get a hell of a lot worse before we see a positive outcome. Gary Allsop, Rob Staten, sorry, Rob, is doing an interview with those that have bid for us on Wednesday. So I'm sure it will all come out.
And he made a point of saying it's not. Sorry, I was listening to Football Heaven before I came on. It's not Adam Shaw that's going on Football Heaven. It's the other guys. So I guess that should be able to help us maybe fill in some gaps and kind of watch this space on this kind of grey area that we seem to all have.
Yeah, the multi-billionaires then. Can't wait. Yeah, it'll be good. That.
Reveal yourself.
Because Adam Shaw is...
Come on down.
Yeah, it's no likey, no lighter. Yeah. Multi-billionaire, reveal yourself. It's Adam Shaw's just the face, the public face or perceived public face of this consortium. So yeah, you're right. It will be good because we've just gone on about it for 15, 20 minutes, but we don't know. And obviously, Gary Fox, listen, he cannot be any worse than Chansiri. Surely to God, Radio Sheffield got an interview with the consortium on Wednesday. There we go.
It's like that meme in it. It can. It's like it could. Like, I'm not saying it's not bad, but in theory, things could always be worse. But
and possible scripts. Hopefully, it's not Shaw or Simon.
That'd be anticlimactic.
Yeah. Well, I think we can leave that there and saying tune in wouldn't really plug other people's shows, but why not? Tune into Football Heaven on Wednesday night. Did you say, Beth?
Yes.
So, yeah, there we are. Cool. Right. I've got a little bit of. I said about positive news. It is positive news. Owls in the Park's been mentioned this week. Been announced. It's the 28th of June, a Saturday. 11 till 4, get down to Hillsborough Park for lots of fun and stuff. Steve has done a little bit of prep for the show. And the question is posed: is it the right time to do Owls in the Park, given everything that's going on? Charlie,
it's tricky, isn't it? Because if we didn't do it, then that feels awful, isn't it? It's like been like, sorry kids, we can't afford Christmas this year kind of thing. Like, is it worse to do it than not do it? I also think it all comes back to this idea of like, should we keep putting money into something? Should we keep supporting something? Because if we don't support it, that's an issue. But if we do support it, that's an issue, and it becomes really difficult. I also
can I just say, sorry, Charlie, I interrupted. This is arranged by the community project. It's not Sheffield Wednesday funding. True. So it's if you buy for something that it's not going to the club. So we're not gonna be paying Barry Bannon's wages.
No, no. What is 50 grand a week? I don't think we can afford it, or whatever it is. I understand the argument of as well. It's like it's something for kids, it's something for families, and I think it is sort of important to remember that football is a hobby. It might be a horrible, horrible hobby, but it is a hobby, it is an interest, and it's going to be harder and harder for people to keep their kids interested in this godforsaken football club. I don't think it's wrong that they're doing it. But I also do understand some of the people who talk about it being a protest and things like that. Like, whether or not you agree, like whether it should or it shouldn't, I can understand the feeling that just at every avenue and every opportunity people want to voice that they're not happy, and I get it. But it's, you know, it's the same reason that people will hate Chansiri but still get a season ticket so they can take their kids. Like, because that's what football's about. It's about the memories. It's about the experience. So I don't know. Ugh, crap answer.
No, you're right. Stevie, I know you posed this question for us and the listeners and watchers. And what's your thoughts on Owls in the Park? And it's a community, family-oriented charity raising funds event. And I know there is some people that go to this event, like Soda, the disability sport Owl supporters group. They use this to fund. This is their fundraising for the year. This is their major fundraising. So they do use it as a big fundraising thing for themselves. I think we should do it. What do you think, Stevie?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you are using it for, if we've got clubs or supporters groups, forgive me, not clubs, supporters groups that can use it as a fundraising opportunity, yeah, absolutely, 100%. You turn this into a positive and make it whatever the state of the club looks like in a month's time. We make this the genesis, ground zero, whatever point zero, the starting point for the next 2 months to get us into the next season and say, right, we've had a little bit of a wobble, but now going forwards, this is everything that we need to unify the fan base, and we get to that point, then yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer. Have it, let's have some positivity into the club and sort of the fan base, but for God's sake, please don't protest. Please don't turn it into a, say, political vehicle. It's not that, but you know, don't make it a soapbox for people that want to be negative about the club and the ownership, because that's not what it's about. The community initiative is and continues to be fantastic, and there's some great people down there. I've got some mates that are involved down there as well. I would want them, you know, to be able to put on a fantastic day in the sun that I can take my kids to and have a really good time.
Yeah, Stevie mentioned the protest there, Beth. I totally agree with Stevie. I mean, it's branded. I know Sheffield Wednesday put it out, and I think Izzy has just mentioned here. Community Foundation, great. It does need to be branded as theirs, and it isn't. It was Sheffield Wednesday put it out, so I think a lot of people do think it is a Sheffield Wednesday thing, which is the negativity that could be around it. I always give the thing of people's right to protest, of course, but there's times and places. So for me, what's your take on it, Beth?
I'm grappling with it quite a bit, I think. I don't think I've settled on my correct answer, kind of, or like my chosen answer. I think thinking out loud, it obviously needs to happen. I'm without a doubt on that. I think in these situations, something really kind of community oriented and like kind of joy focused, if you will, it can be really energizing in times like this. And that's not only in a case that it might remind us why we love our football club and what is good about our football club, but it might give us the energy to fight for it more. So I know a lot of people are feeling really disenfranchised. I think it's really important that we have that space for joy at the moment, because when it's straight up kind of negativity every day like it is at the moment, like I've been like, maybe I don't want to go next season. Maybe I'll get a season ticket to my non-league local. Like,
yeah, I
think it's important that people attend. I think it's important that people show up and kind of do the best they can in the circumstances to remind themselves what Wednesday is, because at the core, it's not the guy in the big chair at the top. I think that's my kind of overriding thought. In terms of protest, I guess maybe this act of joy as a part of the community program and a part of each other, and removed from those kind of boardroom structures and these horrible wage issues and everything. Maybe that's an act of protest in itself. But
I don't know. It's all depends, doesn't it, on what sort of thing whoever's organising the protest, whoever. If it's the trust, if it's another group, if they say that all you do is just wear a black t-shirt or a yellow t-shirt and go about your thing, support the charities, support the other supporters groups if they're raising funds, or let your kids go and eat all the donuts and ride the rides, whatever. But you and yourself have worn the yellow t-shirt, and you've still, do you know what I mean? Instead of, because I think in my mind, and it's just me, is a protest is like we've seen walking through Hillsborough Park, and the yellow flares and everyone with the banner. And I don't, forgive me, don't think for 1 minute anyone would arrange anything that sort of thing. But I mean, Gary's put a peaceful protest won't upset anybody. Also, how many players and coaching staff and manager are going to be there?
We ain't got any, have we?
Exactly. I think we've got, what is it, 3 and a bit weeks to go, and I don't know when the players that we have got contracted are supposed to turn up or come back from their holidays.
Who's even telling them? Who's even telling them to get on the flight home?
Well, that's it, isn't it? That Danny Röhl is like, oh, well, come back whenever you like, lads. I'm not going to be there. You can be there. I saw someone, if you remember the In-Betweeners, someone tweeted out the clip from one of the shows, and he goes, you can be there. Will said something, and he goes, Mr. Gilbert says, you could be there, but I won't be. Yeah. It's it's a great thing. I've took my kids, not now, obviously they're a bit too old now for it, but took both my kids for years before. Always great, and it's one of those things where it can be used to introduce the kids to Sheffield Wednesday, which, I'll put it bluntly, the club don't do a hell of a lot for it, do they? Promoting young fans, new fans, come in. Kids for £1 doesn't happen very often anymore, if at all anymore. Do you know, that sort of thing? So anything like this that the Community Foundation can do to introduce Sheffield Wednesday to kids and stick the parents with a lifetime of grief and debt buying season tickets, then hey, why not? Right, the last little bit. Stevie mentioned him earlier, and this is a little bit. What do we do with a problem like Danny Röhl? So you seen last week, Plymouth are looking for a new manager. They've got rid of, excuse my pronunciation, Muslich, who's gone to Bundesliga 2 side Schalke. He was all over his own social media saying he's here for the project. He's straight behind the fans, the club, and then apparently he was doing all the behind the scenes things, talking the right talk with transfers and the owner and things, what Danny Röhl's not doing. And then just on one day, Saturday last week, I believe, he just said he wanted to talk to Schalke. So they've took the approach of let him go. He don't want to be here. They've took a reduced compensation package, let him go straight away, and they're on with setting up someone else coming in, which I think the odds-on favourite at the minute is Jack Wilshere, which is a bit of a weird one for me. But yeah, Stephen, is that the way to go? Come on, I'm not going to speak for all three of you, but as a lot of people have seen on the clips on this show, I'm right behind him. Not so much now, so I'm going to ask the boss to change that, I think, now. But Stevie, where's your stance on this? The Plymouth model, as in the way they've conducted themselves with their manager, is that the way the Sheffield Wednesday should go? You mean like a proper run club?
I think the interesting point was Muslich has gone there and gone, I'm not coming back. And the chairman's statement basically alluded to the fact that he said that Muslich has told him that there is no intention of me coming back. So rather than take it for the next however many months, put him on gardening leave, pay him to sit at home and do nothing, let's just cut our losses. Muslich 1, Plymouth 0. It's interesting that we haven't taken the same stance with Röhl, or that Röhl hasn't. Nobody's come out and publicly said Danny Röhl has said he's not coming back to the club, whatever you want to believe or hear. So it's a funny one, isn't it? I applaud them for what they've done. I would question whether or not, with all our financial restrictions and constraints that we're under at the moment, is accepting a lower compensation fee for Danny Röhl to go elsewhere going to be something that we should be looking at doing, just to keep the lights on at the moment. Take away the sort of coaching and the personal feel of it. Is that something that we need to do? But then beyond that, where are we in terms of time frame and time scale? Nothing's been said, nothing's happening. So I don't know. I still think there's a place for Danny Röhl. Dare I say it? I still think there's a place for him at the club. The worry is that it hasn't moved on in the way it has for other people. So I don't know.
Charlie, big sigh there.
I feel a lot of different ways about it. I think whether or not you want Danny here next season, don't want Danny here next season, whatever you kind of feel, arguably that bond that we had this time last year has been, if not broken, then severely damaged. I wouldn't want to be an employee of Chansiri's. I wouldn't want to not get my wage. We'll never really know what discussions were made at the time of that contract being signed last year. Like, we don't know. We don't know what was promised that might not have been lived up to. Situation at Plymouth, he's radio silent. Then he goes, I would like to talk. It's done. I don't remember. I can't pronounce his name. But what we haven't seen is him going in interviews going, yeah, God, I don't know who's going to come for me. I'm so popular. Like, everyone's going to get me. Like, the first you hear of it is he's kept his cards close to his chest with as much respect for the Plymouth fans as he's able to do. You know, like, shit happens. Hell, Steve Bruce went, oh, yeah, well, I don't really know. Yeah, sorry, guys, I'm going. Okay, bit shitty, but it wasn't drawn out. All this kind of like the constant alluding to stuff and never giving a straight answer. And like, even if the straight answer was just no comment, write him off. Because what really flapping his chops, I think, has done him in. I don't think we're going to get a penny from that, because I think everyone's going to go, whoa, you know, it's a little bit like, you know, if she cheats on you, she can cheat on, you know, if she cheats on him, she can cheat on you. It's that kind of thing. Like, it doesn't show a great deal of loyalty and doesn't really, you know, it lowers his stock quite a lot. And I think, however, why should we have to not make the money off it? The one thing I will ever praise Chansiri for is that he knows how to put a price on somebody's head, at least when it came to manager stuff, like not pretty so much players. Like with the Steve Bruce thing, we made money out of that. Like, it was like, okay, fine, but we're going to get some big bucks out of it. If we now have to take, you know, a much reduced fee, not only are we losing a manager who arguably has, you know, whether you think he's as good as we perhaps thought he was, I don't know, but like, he arguably has done good things for us. He has made progress, if not achievements. We're also not getting the money we want. But if the alternative is somebody at the club who doesn't want to be there, I mean, how does that work? Like, how can you be managed by someone that wishes they were elsewhere? I don't know. I feel like that's how he felt since January, and look at that. Look at the state of that. Like, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't, you know, as happy to be at Sheffield Wednesday as he certainly was. Like, if we completely cut our losses, we lose on all fronts. So we don't get the money in. We lose a decent manager. And we then have to find another one who, by all accounts, may not get paid. I don't know.
Well, you're right. We said about signings in the summer, didn't we? We're about a manager potentially as well. Where do you stand on this conundrum, Beth?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I wrote a column about it today.
Have you? Oh.
I have. It'll come out tomorrow if you want to read it. I think the most important part of this kind of statement, which I spent a lot of time reading, is the point where they're talking about, yeah, we could have insisted on this full compensation, which is what Chansiri is doing. They could have gone to court to enforce the contract, but they wouldn't have had the services of head coach. The progress has stopped with the recruiting. And it kind of, like, the exact line here is, rather than get mired in a protracted and highly disruptive process, we settled for an amount of compensation which is blah 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 about right for a League One coach. And there's a little bit of discrepancy, I think, with what the release clause is that's been reported. But $5 million is a hell of a lot of money for a manager. Like, he has put such a bounty on Danny Röhl's head for anyone who wants him. And if we're getting like top flight clubs, i.e. Werder Bremen, trying to come in and be like, oh, actually, that's actually quite a lot of money when they're getting 60k at home every other week. Like, that's really bad. Like, given that we can't pay the girlies in the tea room, let alone Barry Bannerton, I'd take half of that. I'd take 2.5. Like, aside from all of this wage issue and the cash flow issues that have gone on this week, we are just sat here. We have like minimal players under contract. We have no coaching staff as of the end of this month, even if Danny is here. And again, there's this vacuum in which people are filling in with their own information, they're filling in with conjecture, but oh my God, like, just get rid of him. Like, it can't get much worse than this. Like, he ain't gonna want to come back. That house is probably on the market. He's twerking for every club in Europe. Like, cut your losses. You're not gonna get 5 mil. I'd take a mil that I'd do the majority of the player wages for a month. Take what you can, if anything. I'm almost of the opinion that just, it's very anti-Chansiri, he would never do it, but I'm also of the opinion of just sack him. Sorry.
No, I think you're probably right, though.
Go, Steve, you were going to say something?
Sack him for what?
Saying Leeds are class.
Yes.
Agreed.
I get it. My only argument with that is we negotiated down the original sort of compensation fee that was discussed in his contract a year ago, and that's what took so long for it to come down. We've been led to believe Danny Röhl signed with the conditions that they are. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate for Danny, and I'm not saying that I'm the proponent for him doing what he's doing. We've spent an hour tonight talking about Chansiri's mismanagement, slating the players, etc., etc., etc. I wish Dan could just stop commenting. He's putting me off. We're saying it's a terrible sort of situation. But we're expecting the manager to be as the manager is expected to be within said situation. And there doesn't seem to be a great deal of empathy after the fact, because we've looked at it and gone, well, he's talked about this and he's talked about that. 6 months ago, this manager had a real affinity for the club and we were right behind him singing, Boney M 24/7. Now we've got to where we are, and then we get to this point and all of a sudden, he's the worst thing since sliced bread because he wants to do this, that, and the other in terms of getting another job. I wouldn't want to work in the situation that he's working in at the moment, and I'm not sure too many would. However, the other point of it taken away from everything else is if he's got that bond with the club that he's found, or with the fan base and the area and everything else that he's found it difficult to sort of manage, then I kind of get where he is with it all, and I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I've got another thinking out loud thing. Maybe this is my own gap in knowledge of how this kind of works in the nitty gritty, but what does Danny have to gain from a club coming to buy him out? Why is he not writing a notice and being like,
true,
found? There could be something really obvious there that I've forgotten, but if he's that grumpy about
it, how does it work? I see. This is where I do show my ignorance, but with it's so tricky. If he signed, can you not quit your job even though you've signed a contract? I don't know. Can he not quit? Is he not allowed to quit? I really don't fully understand it. Presumably not. Presumably that's the whole point of the contract. But would he have to pay the I actually have no idea. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I don't know.
You can pay yourself out of the contract, can't you?
Which is presumably with what? With the wages he's not been paid.
But that would be a potential club he's going to. So they would then say, look, you buy yourself out for whatever you can do, and then we'll give you the money on your signing, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think the Southampton thing's very interesting. Do you not think that's the biggest twist, I think, is they get relegated as expected. In theory, if there's something about they'd have slightly lower compensation from becoming a championship club, and then they're like, please welcome to the stage, not Danny Röhl. And everyone was like, okay, that's interesting. Pretty sure that was almost a given. I don't know. This is all, and I'm sure no one was perhaps more surprised about that than Danny. Surely must have maybe thought that he was probably going to go to Southampton. Why not? I don't know. It's something else is there, isn't it? There's something that is making him not desirable in a way that I think anyone would have snapped him up and maybe even paid the money potentially. I don't know.
Yeah. I think we've had the comment of the night from Justin here. Justin saying, you couldn't pay me to work for DC. Oh, hang on. True. That's it. Good question. Breach of contract by not getting paid?
True. Twice.
I believe if I remember it correctly from Kieran Maguire, it has to be 14 days late, and then it's usually football breach of contract. Although I could be misremembering, but that does stick in my head.
That sounds like
So,
it could be true.
how many is that? 3, 4?
I mean,
Is it in total 14 days, or is it in that one instance?
That I don't know, because last time it happened, we had done it before.
yeah.
Wickerman's comment, we only know about the one interview we did, and everything else is reading between the lines. That is in response to Matt Schaefer's question. End of the day, how much do any of us actually know the Röhl situation? Just like the last hour and 11 minutes of this show, Matt, we don't know anything. We're just here to offer our opinion in a light-hearted and comedic fashion and entertain you on a Monday night. And it's not raining, is it? It's still bright outside, actually. So yeah, that's nearly it for the show. Nearly it. Stevie Spendog Spence has any other business. So pin back your ears for this informative bit of information.
I'll put this image up. Next week we are going to be, I'll get my dates right. Yeah, we're going to draw, because we're bored in the LMS chat. We're going to draw our teams live on air for the TWW Summer Sweepstake. The LMS has paused, so we're going to do a Club World Cup 25 sweepstake, £5 entry. £5 will get you a total prize of £100, with 60% going towards funding the TWW Community Initiative. We've got around about 23, 24 people in the LMS group chat that have already said that they're committed. But if there are people that want to get involved, have a look on our socials for all the information. We'll put that poster up. And we'll see if we can get enough people sorted over the next sort of 5 days, so we can draw that on Monday night next week, so you'll know who your team is. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, get yourselves involved. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a cracking show for how negative we all are. I think we've got through that all right. Anyone watching, listening, please click a like, subscribe, all the usual good stuff. Thank you. The socials are at the bottom of the screen. If you're listening to this, go on TWWcast on X and the Wednesday week on YouTube and all that good stuff. Thank you very much, Beth, Stevie, Charlie. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll be back next week. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.